think about the competition they have. Like, what is it going to do that you wouldn't get from an Elite Dangerous, a No Man's Sky, an EVE? By that point, Starfield is also going to be out there. I'm wondering what Star Citizen is going to do that is beyond what any of those games might offer, or at least one of those offerings that's already out. You know, Alex, it's been a little while since we talked about Star Citizen. I don't know if we've really talked about it at all.
Yeah, I try to not talk about it once a week if I can, but here we are.
Yeah, here we are. It's not necessarily something that we talk about all the time, because it's not one that we've really played, and I don't know if many people have, except for some of the early release stuff. But for people who are not aware, Star Citizen is a project that got some crowdfunding way back in the day, back in 2012, I want to say. Had a very successful $2 million Kickstarter, but...
Boy, that's such a small amount of money.
Oh, yeah. And it's still kind of been in what I'd refer to as development hell since that point.
10 years, and it's not a full release yet?
It's technically not released. But we hit a milestone on September 20th.
10 million.
More.
Let's preempt this. They have been accruing funds since then as well, additionally, from people who want this game to come out.
Yes. So, yeah, you might say 10 million? 100 million? No, my friends. We hit the landmark of $500 million in crowdfunding from over 4 million backers, and this coming from the official Roberts Space Industries website. It had a previous milestone of 400 million, and it was reached last November. So in under a year, we have added another $100 million to the development of a game that has been taking 10 years to release. Now, I went to the IGN article originally, and they wanted to kind of give you a little bit of context for this, which is very helpful. And the article reads, despite this astonishing amount of money, however, the game is still in its alpha stage of development with no release date in sight. For context, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt cost $81 million and took around 5 years to develop. Red Dead Redemption cost between 80 and 100 million and also took 5 years. So that kind of gives you an idea of even AAA releases and what they usually take up for space.
Yeah, lots of money and then lots of returns, hopefully.
Yeah, and a fairly quick turn. Like, I can't say that 5 years is the standard anymore, because, like, Cyberpunk took longer than that. Most games do. Starfield is going to. But still, the idea of 500 million in order to develop a game is kind of bananas by comparison.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that I'm pretty sure you had to buy those ships with real money in that game.
Well, there were, like, some pretty heavy-duty packages that cost a whole lot of money to get, like, specialty ships and stuff in the game.
Yeah.
But, they have announced some stuff, since they have apparently some money. Developer Cloud Imperium Games has laid out some ambitious plans for the next 5 years, not knowing if the actual game being released is going to be one of those ambitious plans.
Doubtful.
No, but following the recent announcement that it would drastically increase the UK studio capacity over the same time frame, in November, they had revealed plans to open a new studio in Manchester, which would also grow the company's current 400-person team to 1,000 by 2026. And then this, which I find kind of funny, is that the chief operating officer, Carl Jones, had said that by that time, he expected the company to be in development on multiple sequels to Squadron 42, the long-awaited and much-delayed single-player story adventure featuring Hollywood stars. I don't know if...
I feel like...
Yeah.
I feel like they shouldn't be paying Hollywood stars anything, and they should work on the whole first game.
Get the game done? That would be a thought. Yeah, because I don't know if anyone has really gotten a chance to play Squadron 42 either. Because
I'm sure anyone who backed it at a high enough level.
Maybe. Or at least an alpha build. Like, I have seen some people that have played early builds and some of the stuff that they've had. Like, and to their credit, I will say that people seem to have a relatively positive opinion of what they played, but it's not the game. It's not the whole game.
I feel like anyone who's spent the amount of money to get into an alpha build of Star Citizen is probably going to have positive things to say.
If you're putting 3 or 4 figures down on a game, I would certainly hope you have something positive to say about it.
This is the sunk cost fallacy.
Yeah. Sunk cost fallacy.
Like,
yeah.
I've already put $1 million into this game. I'm gonna fucking enjoy it.
Yeah, I better get something out of it to put this money in. There is no release date for the actual game, and what I'm worried about, and what I've been thinking about since I've been looking at Star Citizen over the last few years, is by the time it comes out, is anyone in the larger span of the gaming community going to care besides the actual investors? Because think about the competition they have. Like, what is it going to do that you wouldn't get from an Elite Dangerous, a No Man's Sky, an EVE? By that point, Starfield is also going to be out there. I'm wondering what Star Citizen is going to do that is beyond what any of those games might offer, or at least one of those offerings that's already out.
It lets you put your hard-earned... Wait, no, EVE does that. It lets you explore again. Oh wait, the other games do that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I know that it's supposed to be a Mamorpaga. it's going to be an MMORPG. Or I guess
so are EVE and Elite, technically.
Yeah. And kinda No Man's Sky, although it's not really
kind of. You don't have to.
Right, exactly. That it's supposed to be a very large one, and again, they talked about Squadron 42, and that's going to be like a single-player experience. So if you want a single-player experience, you can get that from a lot of those games, too. I think this is one of the problems that you start to see with games that are in development for a really, really long time, is that by the time they come out, there's competition that they didn't even know about at the start.
Back in 2010.
2012.
2012, sorry.
Yeah.
I think Elite Dangerous had also just, like, passed its Kickstarter and was, like, in early
right.
development builds.
Right. And it was 4 years away before we got No Man's Sky in the early builds where it was very, very rough. Yeah. But I don't know. I think that at the end of the day, No Man's Sky was a lot smarter about it, even though they released a product that wasn't very good at the beginning. They've done it in public where people have gotten to play it and look at it critically and say, oh, I don't like this or I don't like that. And they've been able to build it into something that, I mean, I don't know what Star Citizen is going to be able to do beyond that that's going to be unique. It's ambitious, granted, but if ambition doesn't really come with some kind of, an actual end product, I don't really know if it's just lost in the shuffle for being what it is. But... at any rate, I thought it was very interesting. I've never seen a game end up with $500 million worth of funding.
Might be the first. Who knows?
It may be.
Research, and we don't do that here.
Yeah. I don't know if it would make sense for most game companies to spend that kind of money. I think that's the problem.
I think most game companies have investors.
Yes.
And the difference is investors have a lot of pull, whereas I believe this wouldn't have investors so much as it has backers.
It has crowdfunding, yeah. It's specifically crowdfunding, yeah.
investors will say put out or, we're taking your funding away.
Right.
And in this case, they just have to make their backers not mad, I guess. I don't know if it's not like a rug pull. It's like here's a little bit more, but we just need a little bit more money, please.
Yeah. And I do wonder too if Star Citizen is one of those cases of like mission creep. We've seen that with some of the other Kickstarter games that came out, where they get really, really popular and then they get way more money than they planned on getting. And then they had this idea, well, we have to deliver much more of a product, so that's going to increase the length of time that it's going to take to develop this, even if it's not necessarily features that people wanted at the beginning. There was that, I can't remember what the name of the game was, but do you remember, was it Mighty Number 9? It was that one that was supposed to be like Mega Man, or like an homage to Mega Man that they did.
I don't remember.
Okay. But anyway, that was one that, like, they showed the concept seemed good, people liked it, it got huge, they made way more than they planned on, and then it got stuck in development for a long time because they're like, oh my, we got all of this money, we have to produce more than what we said we were going to do. We have to build something much larger. And so they did. They kept developing and developing and developing, and then when the game eventually hits, they're like, well, we didn't really need any of that. It's like, you could have just done what you said. If you give me the product you told me that you were going to give me when I backed it, I'm cool. You can stop.
So guys, do you not know how to do you not know profit analysis?
It's like, no, I understand. There's I'm sure a lot of small gaming companies where they're like, man, we got all of this money, we really should have done something with it. It's like, no, people paid you for the game that you were going to give them, and they figured you would get it to them in a time frame, and you could just do that. Take the money, do what you said you were going to do, and call it good.
Yeah, I see that a lot. It's even in the like tabletop scene too, where Kickstarters will go, "Hey, this is our goals. These are what you need to pay," and then they'll have all these stretch goals, and it's like, some of these stretch goals are cool, yes, but I personally would be more inclined to back something if they said, "Hey, here's what we're gonna produce," and there's like one or two stretch goals that are basically already made and won't take any more time or resources to really do. Right. But they'll be nice, if we hit these goals, here's some extra content for you. But like, I'd be okay with if it went, hey, we don't have stretch goals, we're just gonna actually like pay ourselves, Right.
Which
I've seen a couple do, but it's like, guys, you just made $500 million.
Yeah.
Pay your people, make the game that you originally said you're gonna make.
Yeah.
And then after it comes out, you can add to it.
Right. And at the end of the day, I would say just learn a lesson from the other games that have come before, and you might as well just put out something, even if it's not quite finished, with how long people have been waiting, so that they can play something, so that you can, refine it, but do it in public. As for, from the Eurogamer article, as for when the first Squadron 42 game would launch, Jones was less clear. CIG boss Chris Roberts has relocated to the UK for the time being to aid in development, but Jones said it could be 1 or 2 more years.
At minimum.
Yes. Man, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money to be putting into a game. And frankly, I'm kind of like, maybe just release it in whatever form it's at, if it's playable. And if people like it, great. If you need to improve upon it, do it while people are playing it. Figure it out. Yeah. And if you have money at the end, use it for whatever else you're doing later, just to get something out into public. But anyway, kind of an interesting update on a game that I will probably never play anyway, but hey,
Yeah, probably won't play it either, but who knows, maybe it'll come out in 2030 and
oh yeah, it will come out in 20...
Maybe we'll need a RTX 80/80 by then.
That would be amazing, yeah. With the luck that they're having, it will end up on Game Pass, and you'll have just millions of people just get it as
just
part of
be glad. Just be glad they didn't decide to host it on Stadia.
Yeah.
Rip.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? If Google had made a plan with them, it would have been way over 500 million funding by now.
That's so true.
That is true.
Anyways.
Anyway, we can get out of here. If you have any thoughts about Star Citizen, please let us know.
Or if you've played it, or somehow backed it with $500 million of your own money.
Yeah, actually, if you have played any builds of this thing and can tell me anything about it, I need to know. I have seen very little in terms of footage or gameplay on this thing. I want to know what it is.
I had one friend who a couple years ago had said they had played some.
Yeah.
And that from what they played, it was good. It was rough, but it was good. Like, okay, but...
Yeah. I saw a YouTube video, and if I can remember what it is, I'll try to link it. That was Star Citizen Any Day Now. And they during that video where they were talking about the development process, he actually did have the chance to play some of it, like the early stuff, and go through it. And what he did say is that, there's some cool things in there, but, like, is it worth the time? Is it worth this money? That's the question. But anyway, Star Citizen, $500 million. Who'd have thought?